Guys, can I invite you to share a wave of hearts for our speaker for today, Ms. Chinmayi, who's going to talk about a shot of hope for HIV prevention.
Hi, so good evening everyone, and I'm Chinmayi D Rao, third year biotechnology student from NMAM Institute of Technology, Karnataka. And just give me a second to share my presentation. Yeah, so is my presentation visible to everyone? You can just unmute and speak.
Yes,
Yes, it
Chinmay,
is
it's
audible.
visible.
Yeah. So I'll be starting off this webinar series with my topic, A Shot of Hope for HIV Prevention, PrEP and Lenacapavir. Um, a brief intro about myself. I'm Chinmayi D Rao, as I said, a third year B.Tech Biotechnology student from NMAM Institute of Technology, Karnataka. And I've been working as a content writer on Scioverleaf for the past few months. So let's get right into it. Um, I'm pretty sure you might have heard of HIV/AIDS in day-to-day news, news channels, newspapers. So what exactly is HIV? HIV stands for Human Immunodeficiency Virus, uh, which basically attacks our immune system. It attacks the white blood cells of our immune system, particularly the CD4 cells, which is also called the T helper cells, which are a very crucial part of our immune system. So, if these cells get attacked by a large amount of virus, it leads to AIDS, which stands for Acquired Immunodeficiency Syndrome. So, what exactly happens when you get AIDS? Technically, your body gets immunocompromised. That is, the amount of WBCs in your body drops to very low levels. So, your body is more susceptible to getting other deadly diseases like tuberculosis, infections, or even some sort of cancers. So, HIV virus in your body at a small amount isn't particularly deadly, but when it reaches high levels in your body, it leads to AIDS. So, how exactly does this virus get transmitted from one person to another? The most common method of transmission is unprotected sex. So, if you're practicing unsafe sex or you have multiple partners, there's a high chance you may be exposed to HIV. Some other methods could be because of using unsterile needles, or going to get tattoos from very unsanitary places. And also, it can spread from infected mother to her child when she's breastfeeding the child. And it can also happen through blood transfusion or during organ transplants. There's a lot of myths and taboos associated with how HIV is transmitted, and one of them is that it gets transmitted through kissing, which is wrong, which is not a true thing technically, because it has been proven that the amount of HIV in your saliva isn't particularly infectious enough to infect you and cause AIDS in you. So it's it's not particularly transmittable through just kissing, and also through insect bites or by sharing utensils with an infected person. HIV is not transmitted. So, how can we prevent HIV? Because prevention is obviously better than cure. How do we stop HIV from infecting you? The best way is to practice safe sex, having using condoms, and to get regular checkups with your partner to make sure that your partner or you haven't already been affected by HIV virus. There's also treatment methods if you've already been infected by the virus, and there's also treatment if you haven't been infected by the virus yet but are at a high chance of getting exposed to the virus. I'll be speaking about these treatments in the upcoming slides. So let's look at how deadly this HIV is. Currently, according to WHO statistics, the amount of people who are currently surviving with HIV in their body is 39.9 million, which is a huge number if you think about it. Out of which, approximately 1.4 million are children. So 1.4 million children have been living with HIV. So moving right into it, how exactly is the structure of this HIV virus? As you can see in this slide, this HIV virus is covered by a lipid membrane onto which there are two very important glycoproteins. So what is the role of these proteins is that when HIV infects your body, these two proteins play a very crucial role in attaching to your cells. They basically latch onto your cells very tightly, and the infectious material of the HIV enters your cell. So, where exactly is this infectious material of the HIV virus in this particular drawing? As you can see, there's something called the capsid on the left side figure. So think of this capsid as a very strong locker room. So within this locker room is what is of most importance to this viral structure. The viral RNA, along with very important enzymes, are inside this locker structure called the capsid. So technically, this capsid getting into your cell will make you infected by HIV. um, yeah. So how exactly is this is the life cycle of this virus? So starting off, the HIV virus enters your body when you've been exposed to any infected individual or you've undergone blood transfusion, etc. So this HIV virus gets into your body, and then it basically binds to your WBCs. It attaches to the cell membrane of your WBC. The lipid membrane of the virus then dissolves slowly, and it releases the capsid into your cell. That's the locker thing which I told you about. This capsid material gets into your cell and then infects your nucleus. As you all know, nucleus is basically the control center of the cell, right? So this capsid of the virus gets into the nucleus, and in the nucleus it undergoes reverse transcription. So as we know, many of the cells in nature follow transcription. That is, from an existing piece of DNA, RNA is created. But what happens with HIV is that it's the exact reverse. As you can see here, it undergoes reverse transcription. That is, the virus has an RNA in it. And from this RNA, enzyme called reverse transcriptase is used, which creates a new strand of DNA, which is complementary to the RNA. And this DNA, single DNA strand, then gets replicated and forms a double stranded DNA. And hence, reverse transcription occurs in HIV. So, to make it simple, transcription is formation of RNA from DNA, and reverse transcription is formation of DNA from RNA. So that's how HIV replicates. So once this reverse transcription happens, next step is integration. So now DNA has been created. How exactly does this DNA attach to our human DNA? That happens through integration. There's an enzyme called integrase, as you can see in this picture. The orange colored blobs inside the capsid, they're the integrase enzyme. So this integrase enzyme basically helps connect the viral DNA to our human DNA. So once that happens, now basically your cell is infected by the viral DNA, right? So after this, it's pretty much simple for the virus to, multiply in number, produce new viral cells, and then technically take over your immune system. So how exactly do we prevent? Now infection has happened already. So what can I do now? Is HIV a death sentence for me? That's probably what would be going on in your head if you figured out you've already been infected. But don't worry about it. There's already treatments. They're called antiretroviral therapy, or ART in short. So this is a combination of drugs. It is not a single pill. It is a combination of multiple drugs which are prescribed to patients who have already been infected by the HIV virus. So a common myth about this is that if you take these antiretroviral therapy, HIV is completely cured, which is not the right thing. What antiretroviral therapy does is basically it interferes with the life cycle of HIV, and it stops HIV virus from replicating further in your body. Technically, it reduces the count of HIV in your system. So there's this one common wording used by medical professionals, which is called U is equal to U. That is, undetectable is equal to untransmittable. Um, as you can see here, treatment as prevention, where it says U is equal to U. So undetectable is equal to untransmittable. What does this mean? Undetectable is basically when the amount of HIV in your blood can't be detected by any tests, any laboratory tests. That is, if the amount of HIV in your blood is less than 20 viral cell copies, it is deemed undetectable. That is, no laboratory test will detect it in your blood. So if the viral count in your body is undetectable, there are high chances that you won't transmit this virus to other people you might come in contact with. So, what antiretroviral therapy does is bring this amount of HIV virus in your body to an undetectable level. It lowers the count of HIV virus in your body, but does not completely kill the virus. That's not done by ART. So, yeah. Can ARTV be taken by pregnant women? Yes. It basically reduces the risk of your child getting HIV. So, it's prescribed to pregnant women as well. So now next question that comes is ART is given to individuals who've already been exposed to HIV, that is, who have already been tested as HIV positive. So what if I'm HIV negative? What if I want to stay safe from getting exposed to this virus? What then? So what comes into picture then is PrEP, which stands for pre-exposure prophylaxis, and this is again a combination of drugs which is prescribed to you if you are an individual who is highly susceptible or has a high chance of getting the virus. Now you'd be wondering, why would I be at a high chance of getting the virus? Common question is, I'm sexually inactive, why would I get the virus? That's the question that comes. So when would a doctor say that you're highly susceptible to getting the virus is if you have a child who is currently breastfeeding and the mother has the virus. So if you don't want the child to get the virus, you would probably prescribe PrEP to the mother. Then there's healthcare professionals as well who are working in treating HIV and AIDS, who might get this virus when there's blood transfusion and all those procedures involved. There's a chance they might get it. um, yeah, so those are the individuals who are termed as highly susceptible to getting the virus. And PrEP is, given to couples as well. If there's a married couple and after marriage it is diagnosed that one of the counterparts has HIV and the couple wants to conceive a child, what then? It's what do you do then? That is when doctors prescribe PrEP to the person who has been infected, so that the conceived child or the fetus is not exposed to the virus. So what exactly does this PrEP do? The drugs involved in PrEP, which is Epritute and Truvada, they are the main drugs which are prescribed. They can be divided into two classes, that is ISTI and NRTI. ISTI is integrase strand transfer inhibitor. So ISTI is a form of drug which is given in the form of injections. So if your PrEP prescribed to you is an injection, there's a high chance that this is an ISTI, that is integrase strand transfer inhibitor. What does this do? As I told you before, integrase basically helps integrate the viral genome to the human genome. What integrase strand transfer inhibitor does is it breaks the integrase enzyme. So when the integrase enzyme can't act properly, the viral genome won't integrate with the human genome, right? So the virus won't really affect you. If its genome won't attach to your genome, it's technically like a waste material in your body, right? It won't affect you, it won't harm you. So ISTI basically stops the virus life cycle there. And if you're prescribed pills, that is tablets work as NRTIs, that is nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors. How does this work? As I told before again, the reverse transcriptase enzyme, which basically creates DNA strands from RNA. This reverse transcriptase enzyme is inhibited. Its action is basically stopped by NRTIs. So when reverse transcriptase enzyme stops working, the virus can't really produce new strands of DNA in your body. Again, its life cycle is disrupted and your body won't really be harmed by the virus. Moving on, if you were to see a comparison between a person who is not on PrEP and who is taking PrEP drugs, if you aren't on PrEP, the virus is going to enter your body, it's going to infect your T cells, it's going to make you immunocompromised, as I told you before. But if you are on PrEP, what's going to happen is that this PrEP drug in your body will technically protect your T cells. The virus won't really affect your T cells and your immune system won't be compromised. So you'll have your immunity, you'll have the good immunity you had before infection as well. On the right side, you can see how exactly integration, the part I told you about how integrase enzyme acts and links your human DNA with the viral DNA. It's shown on the right hand side. Yeah. Also, one more thing, if you have any doubts, you can write it down and ask me later once my presentation's done. Yeah, moving on. So you'll be wondering what are the drugs that's given in India? What are the PrEP drugs that is given in India? So the most common drug regime in India is TDF with the FTC. You can find it on the counter as well, but you need a prescription. Obviously, you can't just go and ask for PrEP drugs. If your doctor prescribes PrEP to you, you can find it in India also in public health centers, medical college hospitals, etc. The major thing about PrEP is adherence. What does adherence stand for? So, if your doctor prescribes you to take PrEP for 30 days, you have to take it 30 days regularly. Stopping the dosage even for a single day is gonna, reverse the entire process. Your body may get affected by HIV again. So, adherence is a vital role in PrEP. So, yeah. One more thing is if you are taking PrEP, you have to go for regular health checkups. Your doctor will basically see if the virus content in your body has dropped, and if it has dropped to these undetectable levels, they'll stop the treatment, PrEP treatment. Yeah, so regular checkups has to be done. And again, pregnant women can take this drug. It is very safe and it can also prevent the risks of the child getting exposed to HIV virus. Um, One public concern about PrEP, however, is that not enough healthcare providers know about this. Uh, a majority of doctors and nurses don't know that a drug like this exists for HIV. So, yeah, in villages, rural areas, HIV is still deemed, death sentence for humans. So yeah, a lot of work is being done to provide awareness that such drugs exist and HIV is not a death sentence, and to erase that kind of stigma among rural people. So next part that we come to is now PrEP. The thing about PrEP is adherence. You have to take it regularly. And one thing about humans is that we tend to forget. We tend to forget to do anything at times. So if I forget this, it's gonna be a reverse cycle again, right? So here's where lenacapavir comes. Um, to give a brief intro to lenacapavir, it is also a class of antiviral treatment. But what this lenacapavir does is it can be administered to you in form of injections, and it is not needed to be taken regularly. As in, you don't need to take it daily. You can take it twice in a year, as in once every 6 months, kind of like a vaccine. Yeah. So who started this lenacapavir, or who discovered and who developed this lenacapavir? Gilead Sciences, which is a popular pharmaceutical company in the US, and a team of scientists there developed lenacapavir, and it basically started coming into this scientific field in 2020, and recently in 2022 it got the US FDA approval to be marketed as a treatment for HIV. Um, so yeah, as you can see the dosage schedule here, it's way less more, hectic compared to PrEP. PrEP you have to take it every day, but lenacapavir, the first day, the second day, the 8th day, and the 15th day, you'll have to take tablets. And from the 15th day onwards, at a gap of 6 months, you just have to go and take a vaccine. So that's gonna, prevent your chances of getting HIV to up to 96%, which is a great thing if you think about it. So yeah, how exactly does this lenacapavir work? As I told you before, the capsid of the HIV virus. This capsid, how does it get its locker-like structure? The locker-like structure is basically given by these subunits called hexamers and pentamers. These hexamers and pentamers kind of interlink with each other and create this locker-like structure, which is which protects the RNA material inside the capsid. So, how exactly does this lenacapavir go and work? As you can see, the yellow color molecules on your slide is lenacapavir. The thing about this capsid is that even though it's very, protective and protects everything inside, it has this flexibility to it. Uh, but what lenacapavir does is when it binds to these hexamer and pentamer structures, it removes this flexibility from the capsid. That is, it makes the capsid kind of like a stone. think of this as a stone now. It has gone from being a flexible locker structure to being a rigid stone. So you might be wondering, if it makes it rigid, what exactly is going to happen? How will it harm the HIV virus? Yeah, so when the capsid becomes rigid, it has to get into your nucleus, right? And your nucleus has these pores through which this capsid squeezes through. And if it was flexible enough, it would squeeze through and get inside your nucleus. But since lenacapavir has acted on it and has made it into this very rigid stone structure, it will be very tough to get into the nuclear pore now. And due to this, the HIV virus can't get into the nuclear pore, can't go through with its life cycle, and basically it goes to waste right outside your nucleus. So there's no use now. There's just this waste capsid that is in your cytoplasm doing nothing. So that's how lenacapavir works. And suppose you have been exposed to the virus and the capsid has already entered your nuclear pore and is inside the nucleus now. How will lenacapavir act then? So the second step that's going to happen is that capsid disassembly. Basically, this locker-like structure breaks open inside your nucleus and releases the RNA into your nuclear membrane. But if lenacapavir is there, as I said again, it basically tightens this capsid into a rock-like material. And is it really easy to break a rock-like material? No, right? So when this capsid has become rigid, the RNA inside the capsid can't escape into your nuclear membrane. So this is the second way in which lenacapavir disrupts this HIV life cycle. Now, the third step, that is, if your HIV is in the final stage of its life cycle, that is, its reverse transcription has already happened, and it's at the stage where furthermore HIV cells are being produced. So, the final stage is capsid reassembly. That is, the capsid has to reform again and get outside the nucleus. So, if the life cycle of the HIV in your body has reached this stage, what lenacapavir does, again, it's the same sort of action. That is, it basically goes and binds to the pentamers and hexamers and tightens it up. So what happens now is this capsid reassembly is fastened. This process is fastened, and lenacapavir makes this capsid formation happen prematurely. So what this premature formation of capsid is going to do is the composition of the capsid is not yet completely formed, right? And if the capsid completely, closes and locks before all the contents have gone inside it, the HIV virus is obviously going to have some sort of, abnormalities in it. It can't really replicate if there's not all materials which is needed for its replication inside it. So this capsid reassembly is fastened up, and abnormalities are seen in the HIV virus body. So these are the three ways in which len or lenacapavir affects the HIV life cycle. Yeah, so the next question would be, Gilead Sciences very recently got the chance to market it into the market, and they've been marketing it in the name of Sunlenca. So your question would be, this happened in the US, has India yet gotten the agreement, and has it gotten the chance to market it in the Indian pharmaceutical market? The answer to this would be yes. And this happened very recently. In October 2024, Dr. Reddy's laboratory, which is a very huge pharmaceutical company in India, they signed an agreement with Gilead Sciences to manufacture and sell lenacapavir in India as well. So it's available in many popular hospitals and as such, but it hasn't yet been made free by the Indian government. So you still have to pay and get these vaccines. Yeah. So you'd be wondering, I'd rather opt for PR. What would I opt for? Would I opt for PrEP? Would I opt for lenacapavir? What should I do? So to give you a comparative study, if you've already been affected by HIV virus, you'd obviously go for antiretroviral therapy. The thing about this is the government of India has made antiretroviral therapy free for all. That is, if you've been infected by this virus and if you want to take ART, you can go to NGOs, public health centers, medical colleges, and you'll be given this ART treatment for free. Now, if you haven't been affected by the virus and if your doctor says you have to take PrEP, there is it's costly technically. You have to like spend around 1,200 to 2,500 for single dose tablets. That is, for 30 tablets, it would cost around 1,200 to 2,500. Now, suppose the doctor says you have to take this for like 4 to 5 months. You can do a rough calculation and you can have this rough figure of how costly it's going to be, right? But if you compare that to lenacapavir, which is way more effective than PrEP and which needs to be taken only twice a year, it costs only 3,000 per dose and you have to take it just twice a year. So it will cost around 6,000 per year. So compared to PrEP, lenacapavir is definitely going to be more cost effective, and also it has been proven that lenacapavir is a long action drug. That is, once if you take it compared to PrEP, it's going to provide a much better barrier against HIV virus. And also in adults, there are cases where HIV virus has mutated and grown into this multi drug resistant form. That is, any other sort of drugs don't really hinder the virus's life cycle. It has become this kind of super virus. In such cases as well, lenacapavir acts as the best option, in hindering and disrupting the virus. So yeah, there's a big question: can lenacapavir finally put an end to this HIV pandemic? And yeah, definitely, there's been a lot of research going on in this field, and in the coming years, it'll definitely be a drug, a vaccine, which will be made available to the general public as well. So yeah, so to conclude, if you were to think about how HIV was deemed by the society in the 90s, getting HIV was technically seen as a death sentence. People had this stigma around those who have been infected by this virus, and to some extent still do in the Indian society. But with the current treatments and advancements in the scientific research field, uh, there is a big hope of putting end to this stigma which surrounds the HIV and AIDS in Indian society as well. So to conclude my webinar, I hope you all liked it, and if you have any doubts, you can reach out to me on my LinkedIn, and you can also note down my email. I'm always open to any inquiries. Thank you.